Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to give everyone a minute to file into our virtual room here as we get ready for what is ChatGPT and why should I be paying attention? As we wait for everybody to get settled, why don't we test out the chat box today? Can you write in the chat box, let us know what your company is? It's always interesting to see what industries we have jumping on here. Your chat box is at the bottom of your screen. It's the single speech bubble icon.
And maybe what's your favorite Halloween candy?
I'm a big fan of Twix myself.
Oh.
All right. And now that I think we've got most people in here and settled, good morning again. Thank you for joining us. My name is Stephanie Neely. I'm the marketing director here at CEA. Before we begin today's presentation, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping details with you. Your audio will be muted throughout the presentation, and we ask for your participation through the chat box. If you have any questions pertaining to the presentation, any questions about the handouts, the chat box is your place to go. Because your feedback is very important to us, please complete the survey that will pop up at the end of the presentation. It shouldn't take you more than a minute to complete, and it provides us with valuable feedback that we use to constantly improve our webinars. This webinar will be recorded, and it can be found on the Riverside County YouTube channel after the presentation. Your speaker today is President and CEO of CEA, Kim Gusman. And before we hand it over to Kim and get started, we have a few words from Riverside County from Jason Tang. Take it away, Jason.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Happy Halloween, everyone. Hope everyone's going to have a fun and safe day today. I personally like York peppermint patties, so I like. As Stephanie said, I'm Jason Tang, and I'm with Riverside County Workforce Development. I serve as the Employer Services Manager. So my team and I work with all of you, our wonderful business owners in the county, and see how our services and programs can help you in any of your workforce needs and whatever part of the workforce life cycle that you're in, attracting or recruiting, training or retaining, or even downsizing. We have resources that can assist. And of course, one of our fantastic resources is the free HR hotline that we have provided through the CEA, California Employers Association. And we're really excited to begin our second-year partnership with Kim and her team. Not only do they provide this incredible resource for our business community, but we also have these wonderful webinars that are available to you throughout the year. So look for that schedule as we have them. And I've had the privilege of hearing a little tease about today's subject, ChatGPT, automation and artificial intelligence. And I think it's a subject that whether we love it or we hate it, we really do need to know about it because it's already here and it's going to be more widely adopted as we continue forward. So welcome again. Thank you for joining us. And please know that myself and my team are always here to help you in your workforce needs. So with that, Kim, I'll send it over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Good to know about the York patties. You know, you get to enjoy some candy and have fresh breath at the same time. Red Swedish fish are my nemesis, if you will. I can't stop eating those if I get a little taste of one. So happy Halloween, as everybody knows. We're Halloween today. I hope you're having fun at offices with some costumes and things like that, and getting home early for the kids at home. Fun fact I heard this morning about Halloween in the United States. This year, we have spent over $700 million on dog costumes. So, hey, you know, we're bringing you more than just human resources when you're working with CEA. So on a serious note, what is ChatGPT? Why should I be paying attention? Why are we all here? As Jason said, I think the biggest reason is because it's not going away. Just like the internet, which was a little scary at first, yes, it has lots of pros and lots of cons, but it's not going away. So you might as well learn what you can and make sure you've got the tiger by the tail instead of the other way around. So the way we've kind of set up today's presentation is we'll spend about the first 40 minutes or so talking about what is it, how did it come about, giving you a little bit of context and history about ChatGPT. And then we're actually going to play live. I'm actually going to pull up my own personal ChatGPT account so that you can see if you've never used it before, what it's all about. And I wrote this back, gosh, it's been probably 7 or 8 months ago, and I've updated it as I've gone. But I wrote it because I had a member who said, hey, Kim, I mean, how does ChatGPT, what is it? I don't even know what it is. And how does it work with HR and human resources and all that? And I was like, good question. And so it kind of forced my hand in writing this and putting it together. And the best part about it is I'm not afraid of it like I was in the beginning. And I feel like I'm by no means an expert, but I can at least have an intelligent conversation about it. And I've harnessed it and I've put it to good use at CEA. So please, if you have questions or if you have ideas, or if you can share your best practices throughout this presentation, please do so. And again, if you have questions today that didn't get answered, that have nothing to do with ChatGPT, but have to do with HR, as Jason mentioned, call the HR hotline. This is your taxpayer dollars at work. Free Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, call 888-201-5950. And CEA will answer the phones on behalf of Riverside County Workforce Development Board, and we will answer all your HR questions at no charge. And why CEA? Well, the reason we have partnered together here is that Jason's Riverside County knows that CEA has been around since 1937. Our whole mission of our trade association, we're a 501c6 not-for-profit, is to provide employers with peace of mind. A lot of resources out there for employees, sometimes not so many, and definitely not many free ones for employers, but we are here for you employers specifically, and Riverside County makes that a free service. And we're here to, again, the employee life cycle, hiring, performance improvement plans, performance reviews, investigations, trainings, or letting somebody go. Anywhere in that cycle, we're here to help you out. Just give us a call. While we are not lawyers, definitely I'm not a lawyer. We do have lawyers on our team, but we're not retained lawyers for you. Instead, we're here to provide you with education, information, and we try to do things in what I call layman's terms or layperson terms, as opposed to legality terms. So just kicking us off here, I'm curious, and you can, we're going to start a poll here. Actually, Stephanie, I will have you start that poll. I'm curious how many of you have your own ChatGPT account right now. And the reason I'm asking is because I want to know who my audience is. Are you kind of like I was 6 months ago, where you know what it means, but you have never really used it? Or are you somebody that, I've been using it and I love it, or I don't love it, or whatever? So that's interesting just for us to find out. And we have 40 people signed up for today, but we'll see how many people want to participate in this poll. I appreciate those of you who did. It looks like right now that we have everybody is on the no spectrum, which that's just fine and dandy. What that means is that you're all here because you want to learn what is ChatGPT and why should I care. So perfect place to be. I would have next asked this poll, but I'm going to skip it, which is, if you do have ChatGPT, what are you predominantly using it for? I will tell you from my personal use, I've been using it for the top, the A and C. I haven't used it much for research, a little bit, but I've used it a lot for writing letters and emails and blogs and newsletter articles. And I've used it a lot to generate ideas, generate marketing ideas, marketing topics. Maybe I've got a topic or a theme for something, but it seems kind of boring or overdone. I throw it in there. So today we'll play around, and you can actually tell me what you'd like to use, or you'd like to see what it can do. And I will kind of do it with my own account and let you see that live. So, all righty. So let's talk about what is ChatGPT. Let's get to the meat of this today. We're only 8 minutes in, so we're right on time. And so when I started this, I said, I don't know what it is either. So let me go ask ChatGPT what it is. And I created an account, and I'm going to show you how to create your own account today. But I wrote in there to ChatGPT, what is ChatGPT? And in its very own words, ChatGPT told me that it is an AI, which means artificial intelligence, powered chatbot developed by OpenAI based on generative pre-trained transformer language, which means it is using human-like responses in a conversational manner and it keeps a continual train of thought. And I'm going to show you that later, what that means. So in other words, if I type in, I need 4 ideas for my kid's birthday party, and it shoots out, and you'll see how fast it is. It'll spit out 4 ideas in about a second. And then if I say, no, I don't like those, give me more, it'll spit out more. Meaning I didn't have to put in the same question to start over again. It continues a dialogue with me, remembering the very first question I asked. And as my question changes, I don't have to re-ask it over and over again, which is amazing. So one thing that's important to know about ChatGPT is that it is not smart. It isn't intelligent, I should say, I guess. It doesn't have an IQ. It does not have any ideas of its own. It's all based on existing ideas that it is scraping and pulling from the internet, from any public domain, anywhere it can get information. It's pulling that together, putting that together, and spitting it out back to you, right? So it's learning as it acquires new data. That's where it's kind of starting to get quote unquote smarter, but not yet intelligent. So anything you put out there, it pulls and it gleans and it grows from that, and it builds the database up. So a chatbot, as you know, is be something like, let's say you're on Amazon and a little bubble pops up and says, "Can I help you with something?" That's a chatbot, right? It's not a human being; it's like a robot. So that's just, those are kind of some of the basics to understand. So what's so novel about this, what's so amazing about this is really the human-like responses, that it almost does sometimes seem like when you talk to it, like it's your friend. For example, if I said, "Hey, ChatGPT, I'd like a joke about Halloween," it would say, "Sure, no problem," or things like that, as opposed to just saying, "Here is a Halloween joke." It kind of is conversational. The other thing is people are using it for a lot of personal things, like throwing a party, getting recipes, things like that. And listen to this, Mark Cuban, Dallas Mavericks and Shark Tank personality. He said, "My 13-year-old just asked ChatGPT to write a trash talk about his buddy's favorite NFL team." So he asked for a trash talk, then he got it from ChatGPT, then he took that, cut it and pasted it into his text and sent it. So I loved his words. Things have changed forever. So kids are using it, adults are using it for the office, not for the office. So it is very worthwhile to pay attention to. Here's another fun fact. Most of us have Netflix. So I don't know that I've talked to anybody who I say, "Hey, do you have Netflix?" And they don't go, "No, yeah." So Netflix, it took 3.5 years for 1 million of us to be using it, okay? 3.5 years to use for all of us to say, "Yeah, we're on Netflix, we're on Netflix." But look at ChatGPT. In 5 days, when OpenAI, and that's Sam Waltman, who used to be the CEO of Reddit, he's the one who started OpenAI. When he put it out there to the world and said, "Hey, here's a free source for all of you to use if you want to check it out, try it," in 5 days, 1 million people were using it. So that's insane. And within 2 months of Sam Altman putting that information out there, 100 million users were using it. I mean, just think about that number. So pretty much majority of the world is using this. So I'm happy you're here. You're in the right place to get on board and figure out, how can I use this? And just get comfortable with it. That's really my goal for you today. Just get comfortable with it. Now, since I first wrote this, there have been a whole lot of ChatGPT copycats, right? Most of them are all free, as is ChatGPT. So right now, ChatGPT is free. I don't know if it will be free forever. Kind of like these platforms we watch, Paramount's free, and then all of a sudden you're on the 2nd season and now they want to charge you $4.99, right? I don't know. ChatGPT may be asking for more money later. But right now, the basic model of ChatGPT is free. There's also a higher end that you can pay for. And we'll talk about a ChatGPT sandbox later, what you can also pay for, where you keep your information, your data safe so it doesn't go out to the world. You can pay for that service. But look at these other copycat things. Now, the one you may hear about the most is what's called Bard. And it's probably the one that in the research I have done is giving ChatGPT a run for its money. And the reason is ChatGPT really was initially designed as to be a writer. As we mentioned in the first few slides, if you were on board then and you saw that, you know, writing articles, writing content, getting research, data. But Bard was designed and built for research and for coding. And the number one thing I think is the big differentiator is that Google Bard has access to internet data in real time, whereas ChatGPT is information loaded in 2021. And now it's building and learning and growing, but a lot of information in it, the vast majority, is outdated and not in real time. So if you ask something like, you know, what's minimum wage, you might get an answer from 2021 and not 2023. And that's a big problem, obviously. So ChatGPT is great for content, ideas, things like that, but Google Bard is beating them out in other things. So what about, you know, how are people using ChatGPT? Well, they're using it in an incredible amount of aspects. I'm going to mainly be focusing on HR today because that's what we do and that's what I know about, but it's being used in all walks of life. You know, let's say you're a company with only 20 people or so, and maybe you don't even have a marketing team of just one, but you need to generate newsletters and blogs, and you want to drive traffic to your website, and you want to maybe create your own chatbots. You can use ChatGPT to do that. You can say, build me a chatbot. It will give you all the HTML, all the information you need to know for your back end. It will generate emails for you. It will generate letters for you. It will generate something you want to handwrite on a card because you don't know what to say in a sympathy card. It is a wonderful tool. I used to have a salesperson who was a fabulous salesperson, but he was dyslexic and he struggled with writing emails, and it would take him forever to write an email that it might take somebody else 10 minutes to write. Had this been around then, it would have been fabulous because he could have said, ChatGPT, please write me a letter to a prospect who's interested in buying a CEA membership, but they're not ready to pull the trigger. It will generate within a second a wonderful letter that you can then take and copy and paste it into your own emails. So it's just amazing what it can do. It can help with, you know, help me. You can feed in information. Here's a report about A. Here's a report about B. Here's a report about C. I'd like you to pull all that together and generate one report about A, B, and C. I mean, it can do a lot of wonderful things. I have not used it to analyze large amounts of data, but that is something that it claims to be able to do. I have no experience with that myself. And again, I'm hearing that Bard might be a better place for data and analytics, but it's amazing what it can do. I was going to ask all of you earlier, you know, hey, what are you using it for? And I know most of you on this call have already told me, we aren't, Kim, that's why we're here. We want to know how to use it. So here is what most employees in the United States, this is done in 2023 by Talent LMS survey, pardon me, that's Learning Management System. What are you using it for? And you can see that the biggest percentage are using it for writing content. The smallest one are from using it to make strategic decisions. But you can actually feed in, I have 3 decisions to make. Here's my criteria. Here's the input I have. Please make a decision for me. And ChatGPT can do that. I also heard that ChatGPT is used by many medical, dental, and healthcare professionals as they're trying to diagnose problems. They can feed in information and they can help diagnose things. So it's exciting to think that, yes, it's scary. We don't want robots taking over the world. We don't want people losing their jobs, but there's an awful lot of wonderful things about artificial intelligence and technology. And so we do need to be cautious and we need to be aware. But I think we don't want to be afraid. We want to embrace it and use it and feel comfortable with it. Again, if I'm talking too fast or you've got a question, please stop me by putting something in the chat box, and Jason will interrupt me and we'll read out what your question is. So let's switch gears for a minute and talk a little bit about using ChatGPT when it comes to human resources, because that's what CEA does, and a lot of you are in the HR world as well. And so what's really cool is you can make your jobs a lot faster. You can save yourself a lot of time. You can almost kind of have like a personal assistant with ChatGPT. You can help if you've got writer's block. That's a really great way to get things spurred. Maybe you've got an onboarding program, you know, onboarding new employees that you've used the same thing over and over, and you're like, I just need to make something new here. You can take what you've got, copy it, paste it right into ChatGPT, and I'll show you how to do that at the end here. And then say, you know, create a more inclusive onboarding, or create a more fun onboarding program, or create more steps or fewer steps, or just say, give me an onboarding, and it'll get you something from the beginning. Here's a list, and I took this from a partial list from a SHRM article that I found about all the different things that human resource personnel and human resource managers and assistants are currently now using to make their life easier with ChatGPT. And I think the first one is such a great bullet point, crafting job descriptions, because nobody likes doing job descriptions. I've never met anyone. It's like, I'd rather go to the dentist than create job descriptions, especially from scratch. But you can ask it. I need a job description for, in fact, I'll show you. We have a new vice president of sales and marketing coming on in 2024. And I said, I need a job description for this position because we've never had this. And it spit out a wonderful one to me. Then I took it, then I edited it, then I made it my own. One of the questions I'm getting a lot, and I have done some research on, is, do I have to disclose that what I'm doing came from ChatGPT? And to date, the only time you need to do it is if you take something 100% right out of ChatGPT and you don't alter it or edit it in any way. What I normally do is I get something out of ChatGPT and I'm never happy with anything on the first time. So I take it, I edit it, then I edit it again, then I edit it some more. And by then, maybe it came from ChatGPT, but I don't claim that because it's really nothing like what I initially got from ChatGPT. But if you took a poem directly out of there, or a song, or an article, you know, write me an article on hiring millennials, and you took it verbatim, you want to say at the bottom, this was sourced from ChatGPT on October 31st, 2023, or something like that. But here you can see, I'm not going to read each one of these. You can read perfectly well. You can use it to help you with performance reviews or interview questions. That's a great way. You know, again, we so often ask the same darn interview questions over and over again. And let's mix it up a little and let's make sure. But remember, this is not intelligent. So it's very likely ChatGPT could say to you, ask the person if they're married. Ask the person if they have a car and can drive to work every day. And those would not be questions that you can ask to somebody. Now, if you're hiring somebody for a delivery driver and they have to use their own car, there would be a reason to do that. But otherwise, that other question and any of the other security questions, you can't ask somebody, you know, anything that's discriminatory: age, race, sex, gender, marital status, religion, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. You can't do that. And so you have to watch what comes out of ChatGPT because it's not intelligent and it has spit out things that are absolutely biased and absolutely not okay to follow up on. So this, I like it. It's not perfect, and that's great because we as human beings can help work with the technology, and that's our value in this. So I mentioned a couple things, and really, recruiting is an interesting thing, and I'll talk about how recruiting can be used by you, but also by job seekers can use ChatGPT in just a second. But again, hey, ChatGPT, I'd like to ask, I have a salesperson I'm interviewing, and I want 3 really tough behavioral interview questions to ask that person. Boom, gives you some of those. Hey, I'd like a job description. Now, you notice here it says hiring decisions and assessing candidates. This is things that many people are using it for, and I would say, please take this with a grain of salt and have a big caution flag going on. But you could say, ChatGPT, I have a job description for this person. Here it is. And I have 3 candidates, candidate A, B, and C. Now, again, you're not going to want to put the person's resume in because you don't want everything you put out into the web is going to be out there. So you're not going to want to put my private data out on the website. But you could say candidate A, KG for Kim Gusman or something, here's her list of qualifications. Candidate B is JT for Jason Tang. Here's his list. And then Stephanie Neely, here's her list. What do you think is the best candidate for this position? And it will give you its recommendation on who is the best candidate. But you got to be careful, right? You want to make sure there's no bias. And I don't know that I'd even do it, but if I did it, it would be a very small part of the whole interview and hiring decision and process, right? It would be one element of 4 or something. The other thing I actually did, I recently hired a new employee and a few months ago, and I thought, I just don't have, I haven't done a new hire orientation onboarding in a long time. Ours is outdated. What should I do? And it spit out to me the best onboarding procedure. It had like 18 steps. I just gave you the first 6 here. It talked about, go over your different policies and procedures. I already did that, right? Assign a mentor. I didn't do that. I thought about that, and I kind of still need to do that for this person, I think. Goals and expectations. Talk about that. A lot of people don't do that on the onboarding process. Talk about room for growth and opportunity for professional development. Talked about, hey, make sure you check in with them once a week, once a month, once a quarter. And then it even had a great idea, like, if you're doing any group activities or going out to dinner or going out to lunch or have a conference to go to, make sure that person's invited. So there's just ways to trigger you to be better and have more innovative ideas. We can only do so much in a day, but hey, that computer can help you generate a lot of great ideas. Important to remember that job seekers are using it too. So this was about 2 months ago, there was a woman named Leah Graham. She went viral on TikTok. And she said, hey, I used artificial intelligence and specifically ChatGPT to land a job. She said that she landed 3 job offers in 10 days, and every single company she applied to, she got a call back on. And what she did was she downloaded the job description and the ad out of the newspaper. I'm dating myself, probably out of ZipRecruiter or Indeed or wherever, Craigslist, who knows. And she took that and she fed into ChatGPT, here's the job description I'm applying for, and here's my resume. Now create me a customized resume that will help make sure I get called in for a job. So she crafted a different resume for every single job that was advertised that she wanted to apply for. Brilliant. Because again, if you're a small company, 50 employees or less, you may not have one of those keyword searches, but if you're a big company, a lot of their recruiting tools are all about picking words. So a person who's interviewing is smart to use certain key meta tag words that will, generate with that recruiting tool. So anyway, just know that if you go, wow, this person seems too good to be true, this resume is perfect, it's spot on, maybe they didn't even write it, So if writing's important to you, you might have them give you some sample writings that they write in your office as opposed to sending to you in advance. All right, and then I mentioned earlier performance management. One of the things I know that I struggle with personally is I don't like conflict. I don't like talking about things that aren't all happy. My dad calls me a Pollyanna, and I think he's right. I doubt I'm going to change a lot, but there are times when I need to talk to employees about performance improvement. And it's difficult sometimes to put my thoughts into words, or again, I'm so worried about hurting somebody's feelings, I'm not being direct enough. So what better way than to practice and or utilize ChatGPT to help you write some constructive feedback for somebody? Maybe to say, what's a better way that I can tell Kim that she needs better attendance? Because I've already told her 2 or 3 times I can't afford for her to be late because she's creating problems in the company. But what more could I say to her? How could I say this in a different way? And so you can really utilize ChatGPT to help you put your thoughts into words in a nicer way, or maybe a more clear way. Maybe what you're saying is too verbose, but it's a computer, so it's going to be short and sweet and direct, and maybe that's what's needed too. So beautiful to use for performance management. Also to talk with somebody about opportunities for growth. That's a good way to use it, to say, what would opportunities for growth be for somebody who's a CNA? and it will spit you out. Well, there's an RN, and there's a, list all the different layers of a career path for somebody. So wonderful also to use career path out of ChatGPT for performance management. And then same thing goes for how do I keep people engaged and happy here? How do I come up with fun recognition programs or good onboarding programs, as we already talked about? How do I work on my company culture? What are some ideas? So there's some terrific things there for helping retain employees. And it's a very difficult world right now. There's not a lot of fabulous extra people barging down our doors, right, when we put out a job ad. So if you can get more ways to keep people engaged, my hat is off to you. Taking a sip of water there to shift gears a little bit now about some of the cons, some of the problems associated with ChatGPT and artificial intelligence in general, but especially in this case in ChatGPT. So you want to make sure, as I mentioned, that you're not breaking any laws, bias, discrimination, wage and hour laws, workplace safety. So if you ask this ChatGPT to come up with some safety tailgate notes, you might want to make sure that whatever it's telling you is actually accurate and safe, and you don't just take everything at face value. So for example, not long ago, I wrote in, about a month or two ago, I wrote in to ChatGPT and I said, what is California's current state minimum wage? And it said a completely wrong answer. So you see here, this is me, the red box with the KG. That's how it'll look like when we type in, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. And then this is this little, I call it a Tiffany colored gear shift box. That's what it looks like when you know that's ChatGPT. So here's my question. What's California's current minimum wage? Here's ChatGPT's answer as of January 1, 2023. It got very specific, even though it's dead wrong. California's state minimum wage is $14 per hour for employees with 25 or fewer, and 15 for employers with 26 or more employees. Well, this is, of course, exactly wrong. It's $15.50 an hour for everybody as of January 2023. I did think it was interesting that at the bottom of this, it says it's important to note that some cities and counties have higher minimum wage rates than the state, which is true. There's 40 of them. But the fact that it's giving me wrong information, this is giving me information from 2021. And I mentioned to you earlier, initially stuff was fed in. It's supposed to be getting quote unquote smarter as people feed new information in, but it's not getting smart enough because I told it was wrong and it still gave me wrong information. So it doesn't fix it immediately. The other funny one I've put in there is, who is the current president and CEO of the California Employers Association? That's my personal favorite. I've asked it that at least a dozen times or more in the last 6 months, and it never has given me my own name, which I don't understand because I have been in this position for 21 years. And so you would think it would have gathered that information off the web. But in fact, it's given me names I've never heard of. Sometimes it's given me names of some of my board members. One time it gave me the name of a president of another association in California, but not ours. So beware with what you get, and you want to not consider it gospel. People have also said, well, can I be hacked in there? I would say to you, sure. I think you can all be hacked anywhere. CalPERS got hacked this year. I mean, so everything's open to breaches of data privacy and security. We just talked about the lack of accuracy that's possible with the data. There is a potential for bias or discrimination. And again, the limitations on the data prior to 2021. So Amazon created an AI system to help with hiring, and they had to stop because in a company called Illinois is now suing a company called HireVue. So they bought this system. Amazon bought this HireVue system, and Amazon Illinois branch is now suing HireVue because they said it was using facial geometry of candidates in order to determine personality traits, and it was totally picking biases based on the way people looked and their facial geometry. I mean, weird stuff. So there's a lot of problems as well. So it's not the be all end all. And that's why if you decide, and I'm going to ask you shortly here, do you think you should let your employees use it? For all you know, they already are. Then you need some kind of a policy. Doesn't have to be perfect. I even use ChatGPT to help us create ours. And CEA has one that you can use too that's free on our website, a ChatGPT policy. But you've just got to make sure you let your employees know, hey, don't put anything into ChatGPT that's private or confidential or proprietary information. Samsung, there's an article about Samsung and 2 employees who were Samsung engineers, you know, TVs and all that technology. And they were trying to, you know, modify some back-end programming in how they were programming some of their Samsung products. And so they put their own proprietary information. Here's how we're doing it, and we want a better way. And in doing that, their proprietary information went out to the whole World Wide Web. Now Samsung has their secrets out and their trademarks out for the world. So I did read about 2 engineers that were fired. Now, in their own defense, apparently they didn't have a ChatGPT policy at that time, and they didn't know they weren't supposed to do it or how they were supposed to use it. So when it comes to anything with technology, just like all your other policies about cell phones or whatever other policies you've got, create an artificial intelligence policy or a ChatGPT policy to tell people when they can use it, when they can't, and how they can use it and how they can't. All right, I'm just about done talking, and I'm about ready to do some internet surfing, if you will, with you and to actually show you some things in real time. But the first thing you may be wondering about is, how would I even go about setting up an account? And again, and if you didn't hear it at the beginning, currently ChatGPT accounts are completely free. They do, when you go to the ChatGPT website, that's openai.com, chat.openai.com, and it'll say, do you want to sign up? They do have some that cost, that have other things like graphics with it, and they're advanced. Then they also have what's called a ChatGPT sandbox, where you could buy something for your company, where anything that your company puts out into ChatGPT land, they would create a firewall that would not allow it to go out to the world and just stay within your own realm. However, that still is not real-time data. And so a lot of people are not finding it of much value to do that, but that is a possibility, and there is a fee for that. I don't know what that fee is. We haven't taken advantage of that feature. But you go on to chat.openai.com, click on sign up, register for an account. I used my same email I use for work. And then I picked a password, I created an account. And so it's very easy, simple, and free. So before we go kind of practice a little bit and try some things, and Jason and I kind of play around, we got another poll for you. So do you think you should allow your employees to use ChatGPT at work? Yes would be true, no would be false, or I have no idea, this is all new to me, not sure. People are kind of moving their answers around. We're getting a lot more participation this time. I'm excited to see. So it looks like about 45% of you are saying, you know, I really just don't know. Your head may be spinning a little bit, but I hope you're getting a good handle on it. 18% are saying, no, we shouldn't let them use it, which means you'd need a policy saying you can't use it at work. And then if you find out somebody's using it to do their job, that would be a disciplinary action for violating a company policy. 36% of you say yes, go ahead, let people use it. Again, I'll tell you here at CEA, we did go ahead and we did say, hey, you guys can use it. And then we created a policy around it. And then we keep monitoring that and we keep changing that as we need to. So it's a living, breathing document, as really almost all your policies and procedures ought to be. You know, you put it down, but revisit it every year, and if not sooner, and make sure it still makes sense. I want to leave you with a few things to think about before we start playing around in the real life, in real mode. And that is just to think about all the advantages and limitations in your business. I have found for CEA, that's why I've made the decision with our leadership team to say, yes, you can use it, that there are many more advantages than limitations. It's been a lifesaver for people on, like I said, roadblocks when you've got to write an article, cleaning up an article, finding a better way to write an email to somebody, creating a new policy, creating a new procedure, creating a new onboarding, new hire orientation. It's really, truly, to me, like an assistant. And so in my company, anyone can use it to do your job, but all the policies apply just like they would with anything else. You can't give out personal information. You can't give out private information. You can't give out company secrets or pricing or anything like that that would compromise CEA. And if somebody does that, then there will be a policy violation there. Should you trust it? Well, hopefully I've shown you enough reasons why you don't want to trust it. You can take it, read it, maybe verify information with a few other sources, and you consider it like starter dough. Great way to get you going, but it's not going to help you bake the entire cake. Alrighty there. So, pardon me, coughing attack here, allergies. Jason, how about taking this slide for me while I cough here?
You're putting me on the spot here, so so I think that like Kim has showed us, there's some great opportunities, and there's some obviously some concerns that we also should be looking at. As I continue to read and attend more conferences and hear more discussion about this subject, I was just in one today that were talking about how, you know, some of these tech companies are really implementing these things in their workforce and in their work needs. And you'll see it more and more, especially as the cost of labor goes up and the price of robots and technology goes down. You'll start to see more and more adoption into some of these more mainstream. I know we always talk about how logistics and warehousing is you know, ripe for automation and whatnot, but these type of tools that we're talking about will just continue to be more and more implemented into the workforce as the price continues to go up of a lot of things. I'm not sure. Oh, you're done coughing, so I'm gonna go back.
I'm done coughing. Thank you. Thank you. You did a beautiful job with the takeaways. And I agree with you. You know, logistics is a whole another field that I'm not involved in, that they're using tons of algorithms and artificial intelligence to make life better and smarter and more efficient. I mean, how does Amazon get us these packages the next day? That still boggles my mind. Are there any questions? It looks like there's a couple things in the chat box, Jason. Before we actually try it out and start playing around, are there any questions that you are seeing?
A couple of the comments in the chat box are from me. I was sending out the openai.com link for everybody to have for their records and letting everybody know where the forms are on the CEA website. So if people are interested in the AI policy form, they have a direct link to that. And we have many other forms available on the website as well.
Fabulous. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. Especially, I'm sure people are going to be going, where's that remote policy? All right, so we are playing now. This is it. This is real life. We got about 10-15 minutes before we need to wrap up here. So again, throw in ideas. If you're using it already, I'd love to hear your best practices. Throw those on the chat. If you have questions or you want me to specifically type something in, I'd love that. But I will point out to you as that we wait to see if you've got some ideas. We've got plenty we can throw in here, but look at some of the things that it already spurs you and shows you to do. Tell me a fun fact about whatever. Compare storytelling techniques in a novel or a film. That's interesting. Make up a story. So I hear parents all over are making up wonderful bedtime stories for their children, scary stories. Like I mentioned earlier, jokes. You know, if you have to do a big speech and you want to start with a joke, I've heard people use this if they're, you know, the bridesmaid or the best man at a wedding and they need a good speech. How to explain something to a kindergartner. I mean, again, I think it's interesting that all these things that ChatGPT is suggesting are things we wouldn't even use for work, right? So they really do want everybody to utilize this. Kids, adults, people working, people not working, whatever. And I will mention, you know, this is why there was a big strike, and I don't know where that's at right now, how many days we're into the strike with the writers being very concerned. You know, if AI writes these stories, how am I going to make it as a playwright or as a comedian or as a TV sitcom writer or whatever? Because you really can get some amazing stories. The other thing I want to point out is when you open up and create your own chat account, you will see that it's keeping information that you've been using. Now, I honestly don't know how far back this is going. It looks like back to February. So this is holding, that's about what time I started working on this. So ever since I started an account, it's been saving the things I've been looking at. And you can see the variety of different things I've looked at. And I was even looking at, let's see here. Most recently, I think I mentioned to you, I had to create a job description for our vice president of sales and marketing. So I used it for that. So it hangs on to things for you, which is very interesting. The speed is amazing. Let's do something easy like...
if I can jump in here for a second, Kim, we
yes.
did have somebody give a suggestion in the Q&A box.
Okay.
They're asking if we could get an AI ChatGPT handbook policy from
Oh.
ChatGPT itself. Can it write its
Okay.
own policy?
Okay, so write me an employee handbook. Is that what is my understanding that right?
Could we get some clarification from the person who asked the question? Looks like Madison asked that.
While we're waiting, I'll go ahead and just say, write me an employee handbook, and I'll just go ahead. You see my name up there. Now look how fast. The speed is one of the things that blows my mind every single time. So it is now given me looks like a 10-part employee handbook. Now, I will say it basically just gave me an outline here, didn't it? A welcome message, I think that's great. Mission and values, history of the company, introduction, great. Now it tells you it wants equal opportunity employment, at-will employment. So you'd have to go in and say, what is an at-will employment, which is at any time for any reason. If you choose to leave the company or I choose to end their employment relationship, we can, so long as there's not discrimination, blah, 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 blah. But you'd want to look those all up. So it's giving you a nice outline. It's not giving you all the language here. So then you'd want to go into each one of those and you could say something like, I need an at-will statement.
I think what Madison is looking for is for the AI policy that you mentioned that we had earlier. So Madison, if you reach out to us after this presentation, we can send that over to you.
I think she's talking about the chat GPT policy. Did you put that in the side notes?
I don't have it in the side notes. I have to go pull it and then I can send that out if anybody is interested.
Okay, gotcha. So yes, write us. You can write me if you want, Madison at kgusman@employers.org or jtang at Rivco. I don't know the rest of yours, Jason, off the top of my head.
Rivco.org.
Okay, rivco.org.
While we're on that topic, I had a question for you.
Okay.
Can we put the ChatGPT policy in the employee handbook, or do you suggest having that being its own standalone policy?
I think it can go either way. I kind of like it being personally in the employee handbook because I do think that's a pretty important thing to mention during the orientation, and sometimes doing the new hire orientation, you don't go over every single policy. Like maybe you have a vacation policy or a time off policy or a, whatever, how many times you come into the office. So depending on how important it is to you, you can have it separate as long as you go over it. Or maybe you have something already in your handbook about technology, and that's where I would put it. If you already have something in your handbook about cell phones and general technology, you could put it in there. If it gets to any policy that gets too lengthy, that's when people usually like to have it in a separate place. So your handbook could also say, we have a policy on ChatGPT. Please see that in a separate internet folder file. And that way you've addressed it, but not made your employee handbook 80 pages long. Great question. Let's do something fun and easy, like what's a Halloween joke? And you notice the other thing I think is nice is you don't have to put it in proper grammar, like please give me a Halloween joke. You just kind of spit it out. You can even make typos. Here's a joke for us today. Why do mummies have no friends? Because they're too wrapped up in themselves. Aw, that's good for Halloween today. The other thing I wanted to say is languages. I hadn't even talked about languages. So how do I say welcome to our company in Spanish? Okay, might be something you want. And so here's the way you would say it. And if you said, what about in Japanese? And I even spelled Japanese wrong. Okay, so doesn't matter. It corrected it. And now it tells me the pronunciation as well as how to actually spell that. And it does up to 35 different languages. So I think that's another fun fact and amazing feature. Once again, would you want it to translate your whole employee handbook into another language and not have at least one or two people at your company read through it? Of course not. But, if you want to, paying for transcribing of everything and getting something, that's expensive. So if you have short policies or procedures that you want to put into other languages, use this and then have somebody who does speak that language, review it and edit it. The other thing is it will do spell check for you. So, I could say something like, let's see here. Write an email asking a prospect to, and I won't even spell join right, but let's see if it'll say that, CEA, and see if it'll catch that. You can also feed something into it, and you can say, here's my newsletter article, please correct it, please edit it, and please improvise it. Or you can say, here's my newsletter article, please spell check it. So here was an email asking somebody to join CEA. So that's funny, they think we're a creative entrepreneurial association, so they already got that wrong, right? So that's okay. But, here's some great tips that I might take to use for my sales team and say, hey guys, we need to create a script. So we just send something out, let's do that. Here's the key reasons to join, so on and so forth. But as you can see, it already got this wrong. So I'd be curious to see what is California's, I spelled it wrong again, but let's leave it, current minimum wage. Okay, now we're jumping. Oh, okay. So it's going for 2022. The last one gave us 2023. This one says I only know about 2022. So this one doesn't even give me any current minimum wage. So that's interesting. Now they tell you should check the California Department of Industrial Relations. Let's see, what's the theme for our company Christmas party this year? Let's see, or let's even call it, let's be politically correct and say holiday party. and not be too specific. And here's all kinds of wonderful ideas. Again, the speed blows me away. And the number of choices. I mean, so it just gave us 12 wonderful ideas. I like a lot of these. Winter Wonderland, an ugly sweater party, a masquerade ball. You know, it's just amazing. I've used this before if I'm in a hurry and I say, create an agenda for our sales meeting. Let's say something like that. And here, you notice where it said things like, certainly. Here's an example. You know, again, we talked earlier about how the language is so friendly. It doesn't feel like it's not a computer. But here's a wonderful thing, meeting objectives, an agenda, even gives me a timeline. I mean, how nice. Again, the time it would have taken me to do this, now I can take it. I can take all this, I can copy it, and then I can paste it into a Word doc, right? I can paste it into an email. So you can just cut and paste right off here, just like I would here, and copy and paste it wherever you'd like. And if I say, this is too long, I only have 20 minutes. I didn't even spell that out. And again, it knows what I'm talking about. And it says, oh, okay, for a 20-minute sales meeting, you'll need to streamline your agenda and focus on the critical parts. Here's a condensed version. So now it's giving me a mini version, only 2 minutes on the welcome, and so on and so forth. But again, I can't get over every time I play with it, what a great thing it is. I think the biggest thing is, how do you incorporate this into your day-to-day life? You know, like you almost need to give yourself a to-do that says, practice, play around with it, because a lot of times I forget and I'll be deep into something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just wasted an hour on that. Probably could have gotten the starter dough going and done this in half the time. So if there's no other questions, I hope that at least gives you a basic good overview of what ChatGPT is, how it works, the benefits, the risks, and you know, just get you a little bit more comfortable. But I really encourage you to go play, go have fun with it, and just see what it can do for you to make your life a little bit easier. Jason, anything else you have today, sir?
Nope. Thank you so much to our partnership with CEA, and we are grateful for all your expertise and the knowledge that you impart to us. And we will let everyone know when the next one is coming out. It'll probably be beginning of next year.
Yeah, definitely labor law updates, lots of excitement. Minimum wage going up to 16, on fast food up to 20, lots of good stuff happening in the new year. Crazy stuff, but good stuff. We'll keep you up to date. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, guys.
Stephanie, you've got the SHRM and HRCI for everybody, for anybody who wants continuing education.
I do. If you're looking for your HRCI and your SHRM credits, I've got them. I put them in the chat box if you just want to copy paste. The HRCI code is 643997, and the SHRM code is 23 hyphen. The hyphen is very important. VW6SA. You can use that to go ahead and get some SHRM or HRCI credits for you. Like we mentioned before, please reach out to Kim or Jason or to me or to Anna, who I believe sent out the handouts for this presentation, if you are interested in the AI policy sample that Kim talked about earlier. We are happy to provide that for you guys. And if you have any other questions, ChatGPT or otherwise, CEA is here for you. Give us a call on your hotline and we will answer those HR questions for you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please fill out the survey that's going to pop up. I promise it's going to be very fast, and it gives us such valuable feedback to make these presentations even better for you. And please go out and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you.